Okay, so second part of the review of week 1. We're going to do postings. We got Itzel Morales Chiquete sharing this. How can this be helpful for you as a language teacher? And Itzel shares, in the world we live today, internet is the main source of information for almost every topic, and most of that information we can find it in English. Therefore, if a professional wants to enhance his or her knowledge, better have job opportunities. Yeah, that was true, but I don't see the connection that clear. Then we got ESL means to teach to those people who have specific learning goals, and this course will be helpful for me because I have to be prepared. Yeah, ESL stands for English as a Second Language. We're working with ESP, so you want to check that in your posting. Yeah, I had to be prepared to fulfill the needs of my students. I think that's true for any kind of class, though it's more difficult in general English. Ana Lucia Velasquez replies to Itzel, so she agrees that technology is taking over. So I don't know how positive or negative that is. It's up to you. Okay. I dare say that some people are addicted to technology. Okay. Then I will broaden your definition a bit more. How ESP is more centered on the appropriate language to certain activities in terms of grammar, letters, and register. Very good. Yes, that's a good point, Ana Lucia Velasquez. Thank you. Yeah, we have Ana Lucia Velasquez's post. English for specific purposes is the teaching of English for students who need it in a particular situation, as the name implies, and a specific purpose, such a particular job or activity. Very good. A teacher who is able to teach English for a specific purpose has more job opportunities than teachers who can just teach for general purposes. Well, the thing is, I don't want to burst anybody's bubble, but most schools pretty much teach general English. But it is true, a teacher that is fluent, that has experience in ESP, can have better opportunities, more opportunities, but in a different way. Because as a general English teacher, you can work with children, you can work with teenagers, you can work with adults, housewives, whatever. But with ESP, you have very, very specific goals that you need to achieve. So this also kind of letting go of control, because general purpose classes usually either material center or teacher center rather than student center, whereas ESP is always student center, because they are the ones with the needs and they are the ones who are going to do the work. We are there just to guide them and to help them. Miriam replies to Ana Lucia, says, nice talking to you again. Then we have the similar idea what ESP stands for. Good. I would say that it focuses on the field of area they decide to learn, depending on the needs of the learners. Medium, that's true, depending on the needs of the learners. Then we have Ana Lucia Velasquez replying to Medium, sends their regards back to them. ESP main objective is to meet the needs of particular learners. Good, Ana Lucia, that's right. English competence in the different skills such as reading, writing, listening, speaking. Gives the learners the ability to generate a language and cope with different tasks. Yes, that's right on the money. Different tasks, functions, activities that they have to do. The reading, writing, listening, sometimes that's more for English for academic purposes, because they have to prepare for an exam or they have to do some kind of a evaluation. But yeah. Then we have Jose Alejandro Lopez Quiñones replying to Ana Lucia. A teacher who's able to speak fluent English could easily learn new vocabulary for certain purposes. Okay, and a teacher who's teaching English to nurses, the students they need to learn new vocabulary because their master's degree demands it. I have no idea if a teacher could be able to get a better paid job knowing technical English, but I guess the demand is present and he's better being prepared. It's a very good point. Jose Alejandro Lopez Quiñones. It's always better to be prepared. Luck favors the prepared. We're not going to argue that. Now, about this teacher who's teaching English to nurses, I would like you to send me a message and tell me if he's teaching general English or if he's teaching just technical English or actually teaching English for occupational purposes for nurses. See, that would be very interesting to contact that teacher and maybe get him to talk to this class because it's always good to get somebody else's opinion, especially somebody with experience. Now, Ana Lucia replies to Alejandro, I agree with your comment. I believe that a teacher who is well prepared and has the knowledge and the tools has more opportunities than one who's just able to provide general English to students. Definitely. I agree with you, Ana Lucia. Personally, I would like to take a course, become more prepared as a teacher in a specific area, rather than deciding what I would like to focus on. Okay, so you're in luck. You're taking now ESP courses, and hopefully by the end of the semester, you will have a better understanding of what ESP is and how does it work. How can we prepare our own courses? How can we satisfy our students' needs? Grisel is joining the conversation, and she's posting. How can ESP be helpful for you as a language teacher? And Grisel says, ESP is one of the most prominent areas of teaching English. It is a methodology of teaching English for professionals in various fields. Okay, once again, I already commented this. The methodologies, approaches, and techniques, they're basically the same from general English. We're just making use of whatever is appropriate to reach your students, to engage them, and to enable them to achieve their goals. Such a combination is highly motivating because students are able to apply when they learn in their English classes to their main field of study. Yes. Content-based teaching or having very specific goals helps keeping motivation high because students feel that they're not wasting their time and everything that they're studying in class can be immediately applied to their everyday lives in their work or in their studies, their occupation. So thank you. Borges Obesos back in the conversation. Sociolog Grisel, it's true that you say about the ESP definition, it is focused more on development of the language in a particular area and development of the skills of the language, definitely, yes. We are going to work with skills, not just the language. We're going to work with functions, not just, again, vocabulary, technical vocabulary. I happen to know that School of Medicine, they teach technical vocabulary, but they don't necessarily teach, practical application of the vocabulary. It's mostly like building a database of information in students' brains, but they don't really have the opportunity to use it, in a more practical way. Melissa Gonzalez Flores is posting what is ESP, what is purpose, as the name says, for some purposes and needs and functions which English is required. Very good. ESP concentrates more on language in context than teaching grammar. And yes, very good, Melissa. Melissa Gonzalez, you are right on the money. It focuses more on language in context, in functions, in doing tasks, completing the activities that you have to do in your everyday life, in your job, your studies, but in English. The ESP focal point is that English is not taught as a subject separate from the students' real world or for students' wishes. Well, yeah, most of the time we have to be careful because we have very brief courses, very short courses. So we have to make a distinction between students' actual needs and their wishes. So we're going to talk about that as we progress in the class. Marco Antonio replies to Melissa. It's a great post, a comment, thank you. Marco Antonio posts, what is ESP? Reading definitions of English for specific purposes. In my own words, I can say that it is the language and vocabulary focusing for different professional careers. Okay. Yeah, it is the language, and definitely when you have specific vocabulary, the purpose is to acquire the knowledge for a specific professional target. Yes. Okay. Difference between general English and specific English is English that every individual can use to communicate in a common environment. ESP includes terminology and vocabulary related with their occupation. Okay? Yes. Very good, Marco Antonio Lopez Garcia. That's one of the biggest distinctions between general English and English for specific purposes. Thank you. Okay, we got Carolina Rochin Lizárraga posting, how can ESP be helpful for you as a language teacher? ESP is the teaching of English using academic studies. Well, there is an area called English for specific academic purposes, but it's not necessarily totally academic all the time. It could be occupational, it could be more practical. So now we know Carolina Rochin. Thank you for joining the conversation. And Fernando Ivan Garza is with us here. Says, from my perspective, ESP considers the needs of students in technical matters and only after the language that has been used focuses mainly on the functions and models of the language used. Okay, I'm not sure what you mean by models, models of teaching, models of, but yeah, it does focus on functions because it is very practical. It is, again, extrapolating what you're able to do in your own language, in your occupation, your studies, back to English. So Fernando Ivan, thank you. It was a very good contribution. And Maria Jose Alvarado Acosta posts for us, ESP is focused on the student's language needs for professional, theoretical, or leisure purposes in all the different and various areas that English has to offer. Okay, it is helpful because I will become more aware of what needs to be accomplished more objectively according to my students' needs and the reason why they're taking ESL against ESP, not ESL, especially when doing private tutoring. Yes, that's a very good point. Most ESP courses are what we call tailor-made. They're developed, they're designed mostly by the instructor, by the practitioner, like Hutchinson Waters and Dudley Evans, called the ESP teacher, to fit students' needs. So every student's needs are very particular. Therefore, one ESP course is not appropriate for everybody. It's going to be appropriate for that particular group, and then maybe you can make changes, adjustments. But yeah, every time is again tailor-made. It's made to fit those needs. So Maria Jose Alvarado Acosta, yes. When you have a private class, you know that you cannot waste time just using a general English book. You have to know exactly what your students need, and you have to address those needs. Mauricio Vizcarra joins the conversation and says, ESP stands for inclusive purposes. It focuses on students' specific needs and methods. Again, back with methods. I'm not sure what you mean, like the way they process information, their own learning style, their very own intelligence. The specific needs, yes, definitely. Again, needs analysis is the cornerstone of an ESP course. This can help me as a language teacher to make more personalized lessons for my students, which help them learn. Okay, yes. You make a good point there, Mauricio Vizcarra. Rocio Navarro joins the conversation with ESP is a role or function of the English language in a particular program that is designed to meet the needs of the students. This is helpful for me as a language teacher because it gives me a path or direction to follow in which I have general idea of what language learning aspects are being targeted. Okay, Rocio Navarro. Yes, it is, again, based on functions, but mostly it's based on students' needs, like you mentioned. Now, when it says it gives me a path to have a general idea, is a specific idea, not a general idea, because once you conduct a needs analysis, you know exactly what they need. And something else that we're going to see is the analysis of how students process information, so you can make better decisions when you design material, when you adapt material. So you have more visual students, you can adapt material or create material that is more appealing to visual students. If you have more kinesthetic students, then same thing. So it is more specific of what they're going to want to do. Okay, and we got Evelyn Lopez joining the conversation. ESP stands for knowing the specific needs of a learner, but in order to know what their specific needs are, it has to specify their methods for the language. Again, I don't know where you guys are getting this method thing. That could be a little bit misleading. The specific needs, definitely. So you have to, we have to create that needs analysis method, methodology of learning. that will be useful, but this is too general, so I'm not sure exactly what you're talking about. You might want to work on that. Luz Maria Lopez Angulo joins the conversation. It says ESP means the teaching of specific topics or themes in a class. Okay, we have to be careful with that because in general English you still have specific topics or themes. Talk about nutrition or something, but that's not English for specific purposes. So this allows us to know what to focus on. We're teaching the language. Once we know what students' needs are, okay, this is a good point, students' needs, the classes will be all based on that, using different strategies and techniques that will help us get to that path, okay? Now, we're not going to get to that, but I want to follow the path so we can get to the objective, to the final purpose of the class. We are going to follow the path that our students express through their needs, and to complement that, how do they process information? Okay, so thank you, Luz Maria Zangulo. Michelle Bojorquez Dot is posting her contribution, and she says, English for specific purposes is an area of English as a second language in which students learn the language about specific areas of study according to the context or the needs they have. Okay, again, you have some keywords here like needs, context. We have to work on that. Excellent. For instance, if the course is given to doctors, then they learn medicine terminology. Yeah, but again, just to reiterate, it's not necessarily just about the technical terminology of each discipline, but how to use that in a practical way for their occupations, for their job, for their everyday tasks. If it's work or if it's a study, So we want to work on that. It is important for me as a teacher because I can learn ways to approach my students through my lesson in order to meet their needs in a more effective way. Definitely, yes. That's why we do the needs analysis, so we know what they need, and the learning style analysis, so we know how they process information, so we can make better decisions. So guys, thank you very much for participating. You still have something else to do, so I'll be expecting your contribution. And let me know, because I'm going to put this on my channel on YouTube. And if you want to make a comment, you can make a comment in the comment section below, or you can send me a message through my email address, humbertopina2000@gmail.com. Or remember, you can also post some of your comments and thoughts in the forum on week 0. We have the frequently asked questions, which nobody has asked anything. So hopefully that's going to change. I would like to see more of your thoughts and comments on that. I know you're busy, but it will be appreciated. Once again, thank you very much, and I'll see you online.